Hello, welcome to the FilmPulse.net podcast. This is episode number 79. My name is Adam. With me today we have Kevin. How are you, Kevin?
I'm doing okay.
Doing okay? Good.
All right, yeah.
That's good.
All right.
Today we have a great show lined up. First we'll be interviewing director Nick Basile on his film Dark, which is currently funding on Kickstarter. Then we'll be going over some of what we've been watching before getting Film Pulse contributor Todd Wilcox back on the show for a feature review of Neil Blomkamp's Elysium. And finally, we'll be going over this week's movie predictions, new stuff on VOD, and DVD and Blu-ray releases. First up, let's have a chat with Nick Basile on his upcoming feature-length thriller, Dark. Nick, thanks so much for talking with us here. We're talking about Dark, which you currently have funding on Kickstarter. But before we get into that, I just wanted to talk a little bit about your background and maybe some of the past projects that you worked on.
Sure. I studied film at SVA, School of Visual Arts in New York City, and the stuff that I've done before this, I've directed a number of shorts. I also had directed a feature-length documentary called American Carney: True Tales from the Circus Sideshow, which came out a few years ago, which was a documentary about sideshow freaks and some of the people and working acts that were still out in Coney Island. So Dark would technically be my first feature narrative. And I also come from a background of theater, also as an actor. So I've almost done every job at one point or another in the film industry. But when I was at SVA, one of the people I met there, one of my friends, was Elias Gunster, who is the writer on Gut, and he's been a longtime friend of mine. We used to work on each other's student films together, and our friendship has grown over the years, and he's one of those people that I rely on. He relies on me whenever we're working on a project. And this was something that I had come up with the concept for originally, and had called him up and kind of pitched it to him and asked if he would be interested in developing the screenplay with me for this. And he loved the idea, and we went from there.
And I actually saw Gut. I talked to Elias via email like a long time ago, and he sent us over a screener and we reviewed it on the site. And that was one of the things that interested me about this project initially, was that I liked Gut a lot. I thought it was a really kind of unique take on the horror genre, and that was one thing that instantly kind of drew me in.
Well, the interesting thing is, that was one of the things that was always unique that I felt about Elias's films when we were in film school, and he made a few short films, one of them called The Voice Inside, which I don't know if you've ever seen. I think it's on the web somewhere, which had raised a few eyebrows, if you've ever seen this 13-minute movie. But Elias always made very interesting kind of strange films that also were very, though, personal for him. And me and him always had a very different sensibility. I mean, my movies and the shorts that I had made were very different. But it's interesting, as different as we are, there's a lot of also shared sensibilities. And we thought with this film, it would be an interesting blend of kind of the darker aspects of a lot of his movies, and then kind of the interest of where I come out of. And which has a little bit more of, I guess you could say I'm a little bit more in love with the kind of classic Hitchcockian type of films and stuff that has a little bit more of a nostalgic feel. And this film, stylistically, for me, always referenced back a little bit to those psychological thrillers from the 1960s and 70s, and Polanski's Repulsion, and even films kind of like that were more not horror but more thriller based, like let's say Coppola's the Conversation, something like that, were always an influence to me stylistically,
Mm-hmm.
So so I thought it was going to be interesting to kind of blend me and Elias's sensibilities on this.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a very good thing. Now, let's talk about the film itself. Maybe you could just give us a little brief synopsis of what Dark is about.
Dark is a thriller set during the 2003 blackout, and essentially, it's about this girl, this model named Kate, who lives with her girlfriend out in Brooklyn. And when her girlfriend leaves for the weekend and the blackout happens, as we get into night, she starts to believe that someone is trying to stalk her, and you really don't know how much of this is real or how much of this is paranoia. But the film takes place basically in a 24-hour period where it starts the night before and goes all the way in to the next day, and kind of really starts off as this almost New York City character piece that then slowly evolves into this suspenseful, nightmarish film in the second half. So we thought it was an interesting way to kind of do a movie that was character based, where you're only in that one character, that single character's perspective for the whole thing. And in a way, what if that point of view for the audience also wasn't necessarily, it couldn't be relied upon. You weren't sure if the way she was perceiving the world was accurate, but you're with her. So the way the audience is experiencing things as they happen and as the blackout happens is all through kind of her perception of what things are going, how things are going to happen, and how things are going on.
Now, one of the big things about this film is that you were able to get Joe Dante as an executive producer. How did that come about?
Well, it's interesting. We started with this project. We had started development with another production company in New York, and we were actually prepping to shoot this film last summer. And all of a sudden the money fell through, and which is not unusual, I guess you could say, with indie movies. So we had to decided at that point to part ways, but the actresses, who are still, Alex and Whitney, were still on board. So we started to shop it around, and it kind of went into turnaround, if you will, and I eventually took it over to Renfield Productions, which is Joe Dante and Mike Pennell's company. And Joe Dante and his people really liked the script. They loved this idea of using the 2003 blackout as a backdrop for a thriller like this, and kind of these, as he puts it in his one video, like a locked room mystery type of film. And we took it from there, and we thought it was a great opportunity to be able then to go the next step and take it to Kickstarter. And it was something that Dante and his company had done prior on Trailers from Hell, and we wanted to do it with this, and we're seeing how that goes now.
So the Kickstarter project that's to raise money for the actual production of the film, right?
Correct, yes.
So you're looking to get $48,500, that's low. That's pretty low.
That's not the whole, yeah, right. That's not the whole budget of the film. We have some other money, and then we also have some other investors who are interested in matching once we finish out this campaign. So that was part of the thing, is to also see if not just reaching the goal, but seeing how much we could overraise to then have that matched. So the initial funds, to get it basically kick-started, we needed a minimum of about $50,000, and then the rest of it would be coming in from other investors.
Yeah, and it looks like you're well on your way. I mean, you're already halfway there with 26 days to go as well.
Yeah,
so
I got to be honest. I mean, we did a lot of work. I mean, we planned for over 2 months, and what all the aspects of the campaign, took our time on working on the video, and then the video exclusives that we're doing every week, the perks. But so we were confident that it should do okay. But we were, even ourselves, were actually impressed and surprised that it reached the halfway mark as quickly as it did. So hopefully, it keeps going that way, and we could continue keeping the campaign fresh as it goes along.
Now, I think one of the big things, one of the big selling points to this project, in addition to being able to see the film itself, is some of the perks you have. I was wondering if you could highlight some of those, because you got some really great perks in here.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Yeah, we figured that, part of the appeal of having Joe Dante on board is the fact that you have such a fan base, including myself, for his oeuvre of movies, including Gremlins and The Howling, and so we have a lot of stuff going from like the new collector's edition of Blu-ray of The Howling that's signed by Joe to some Gremlins memorabilia, posters of Gremlins signed by Joe Dante. We even have stuff, for even higher donors. Of course, we're giving away stuff from Dark, the picture itself, once it's done, poster art and things of that nature. But for higher donors, we're even giving away opportunities to essentially buy producer credit or actually get a small walk-on role in the film. So it runs the gamut from Dark stuff to Dante stuff to chances to actually be part of the production in some way, which it seems like that's one of the appeals of Kickstarter now, is really putting these films out there, or these pieces of work that the audience and the contributors really can feel like they're an active part of it as the movie's being made.
Yeah, absolutely. Is this your first Kickstarter project that you've been involved with?
Yeah, this is my first Kickstarter project, and it's interesting. I mean, I had started supporting other friends' projects, mostly some smaller theater projects off of Kickstarter, and I had been unaware of it, until that started. And that was about maybe a year or so ago when and I never. I mean, I thought of it for a film, but I never thought of going for a whole feature off of it. But as we saw, the popularity of it grow, and of course, what really made it popular within the mainstream, at least that people now know what Kickstarter is through Veronica Mars and Zach Braff, and that when we started working with Dante's company, this was one of the things that we had decided we would try to do, that this would be an avenue to get something like this made. So yeah, this is the first time, and it's very interesting. I mean, there's a learning curve. You're interested to see what works, and we're constantly trying to change or maybe add perks to see what people respond to on there.
Now, we've talked to a lot of directors that have Kickstarter projects, but I don't know if I ever asked the question, how do you feel as an independent director using Kickstarter? Do you feel that all of the Zach Braff, Spike Lee, Veronica Mars stuff, what is your take on that?
I think, like a lot of things, it's a double-edged sword. I think that the Veronica Mars and Zach Braff, they bring visibility to Kickstarter. I think that it legitimized Kickstarter in a way. So if you're going to do a Kickstarter campaign, and you have some people in your production involved, it's not like, it's now a completely legitimate way that filmmakers are raising money for movies. At the same time, just coincidentally, because, Spike Lee has his campaign, and it went about 1 week before ours, the tough aspect of that was that sometimes certain press that we may have gotten now had just done a story about Spike Lee's campaign, so they weren't as interested in then doing a follow-up the very next week later with something that involved Joe Dante on Kickstarter. So sometimes there could be a Kickstarter fatigue as far as press is concerned when you have a lot of celebrities. So I think that unfortunately is like a byproduct of it is a double-edged sword, But I think at the same time it's too early to say, what's good or bad for this, because you want to see how this continues to evolve. You know, so.
Well, I think that hopefully it'll maybe stay the way it is, because I think that it could go very south if bigger studios see that this is working and start getting more involvement with it. And I think if something like that starts to happen, where actual studios get involved, then I think it could take a turn.
Well, yeah, because then what they're doing would be it would be so transparent that it's just a marketing strategy, and who wants to just be part of a marketing focus group, and for you to give money for studios marketing focus group, which is, you don't want it to become.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much for taking some time to speak with us, Nick. Again, the feature is Dark, and we'll be sure to have the link in the show notes and all that fun stuff. So thank you very much, and best of luck.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks again, Nick. Be sure to click on the Kickstarter link in the show notes and help get this film made by making a donation. While we're talking about Kickstarter, I just want to do a quick plug for everybody out there. If you have a Kickstarter, Indiegogo, any kind of crowdfunding project, and you want us to feature it on the website right there in the sidebar until the project runs out, so it'll be up there for the entire time, just go ahead and click on the link. There's a link right below the featured project there, and you can fill out a form and get your project featured on there and get some exposure. Let's go ahead and talk about some of what we've been watching. Ernie started it off last week, so I'm going to start it off this week.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's how we're going to do it.
Fantastic.
I saw a ton of stuff, as usual. A lot of it bad, as usual.
Classic Adam.
Classic Adam. Started the week off with Chud from 1984. Chud, yeah. This is a kind of a horror movie, I guess you would call it, but it's got John Hurt and Daniel Stern from Home Alone in it.
I like that.
Basically, it's about a radiation leak that happens in the sewers of New York, and the homeless people that live underground become mutants that kill people.
Sweet. I'm totally watching this.
As they call them, Chuds. And I can't remember what the acronym means.
Oh, that was going to be my question.
Yeah, it was fine. It's on Netflix, so you can check it out.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
There is a Chud too, Bud the Chud.
Yeah, there is. I didn't watch.
Is that on Netflix?
That one I didn't watch.
Like to do a double bill.
Yeah, probably. I mean, it really wasn't bad. It kind of reminded me of maybe some early John Carpenter stuff, but it's a cheesy kind of B movie. Then I saw Casting By, which was on HBO on Monday. This is a documentary about casting directors, and it has a ridiculous number of people in it. I mean, they get interviews from like Martin Scorsese, Robert De Niro, Clint Eastwood, Robert Duvall, Robert Redford, just tons and tons of people.
What?
And it's all about the casting director. And it specifically talks about the life of Marion Doherty, who is probably one of the most famous casting directors. And it's a shame because it also kind of talks about how they don't really get any recognition in the industry.
Yeah.
Like there's no Oscar for them. And really it's the casting director can make or break a movie. Who they cast in a role is vital to a film.
Unsung heroes.
Yeah, and it's a shame because Marion Doherty died in 2011, and there was a big petition to give her an honorary Oscar, I think maybe in 2010 or somewhere around there, and they declined it. They didn't do it.
How do you just decline something like that?
Despite having and they were reading the letters, and it was huge people some of the biggest directors and actors. And this woman, when you see this documentary, you're like, this woman should absolutely have an Oscar. She basically discovered all of the big A-list actors that we know today. And I didn't know this, but there's a show called Naked City that came out back in the 50s, and she worked on that before she started doing movies, and she discovered a lot of these actors and cast them in this show, Naked City. And this is where Robert Duvall, Christopher Walken, Jon Voight, tons of people got their start on this I think it was a procedural, and it took place in New York, but
Jack Klugman,
tons of people, dude. You look at that cast list. Peter Falk.
Yeah, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, they all got their start on this Naked City show, and that was all due to Marion Doherty. So I definitely recommend checking it out. If you're a fan of movies, it's worth watching, definitely. Then I saw Magic. Yeah, this is part two of well, not part two, but when Sebastian Silva made back-to-back movies. He did this and Crystal Fairy back-to-back with Michael Cera. I didn't see Crystal Fairy yet. It's not out yet, but I think that this one is probably going to be better. It's sort of a psychological thriller, maybe a horror movie, but I would say it's more of a thriller. Stars Michael Cera and Juno Temple, and I was really surprised at this movie. You don't, like, when you watch it, you just have this feeling of unease and dread. Like, the entire time you're watching it, it just leaves this bad taste in your mouth because it's just so... The way that it's filmed, it just makes you feel shitty. And it's supposed to. Like, it's about this girl who visits her friend and ends up hanging out with her friend's friends in Chile in this kind of remote house. And she starts getting freaked out because they're kind of weird. And she thinks that they're, like, out to hurt her and stuff. And she sort of has this kind of breakdown. And you never know if everything is in her head and she's just slowly going insane, or if the people do have kind of like nefarious thoughts or are planning nefarious things with her.
Yeah.
And so I definitely recommend checking that out. It's on, I believe, DVD and VOD right now.
But I thoroughly enjoyed The Maid, which he made back in 2009.
Yeah, I think...
So I had to check it out.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is the characters in this movie are so despicable. Like, you just hate everybody because they're just such assholes. But Michael Cera, oh my god. He plays, like, the best... I don't know what you would even call him, but he's great in it. Saw Amityville Horror, which is a documentary about the real life Amityville horror, but specifically, because there's been tons of documentaries about that, specifically it follows the life of Daniel Lutz, who was the one kid in the family. Mm-hmm. And he like would never talk to press or anything like that, and then finally he agreed to make this documentary and sort of move on with his life. So it kind of goes over that. If you saw The Conjuring, or if you were into that, the Warrens, Ed and Lorraine Warren, they're in this movie, and or at least Lorraine is. Ed's dead, but they talk about the Warrens a lot because they were involved with investigating the Amityville horror, and it doesn't really try to sway you one way or the other about did it happen, did it not happen, anything like that. It's more about the effect of the events on this guy who's like now in his 40s, and he's like all fucked up because of it. No. And it's kind of weird. There were some pretty freaky moments to it. Like there were a couple things that I didn't know about with that whole story, and I mean, regardless of whether or not you believe in that it happened, it's undeniable that something strange occurred. I mean, if not the Amityville like haunting, the murders that happened beforehand. You know, there was a family murdered there. A guy killed his kids and his wife, but the interesting thing was he used a shotgun and he killed them at nighttime when they were sleeping in their beds. Mm-hmm. But none of them were drugged. None of them were like tied up. And it's a little weird that he would be able to kill his entire family without any of them getting out of bed.
Yeah.
Because they were in separate rooms. Then I saw A Measure of Sin. This is not out yet. Hopefully it'll be out at some point soon. This is kind of an art house horror film about a woman who grows up in isolation and her mother dies. She escapes and then ends up in this weird family that also keep her in seclusion. And it's like a weird religious family where there's like one guy and then like 10 women in the family. I would recommend it if you're into really abstract, surreal type of horror stuff. Like, I would probably closely relate it to Calvin Lee Reeder's stuff.
Okay.
It's not quite as weird as that. I mean, it does have like a narrative that you can follow, but it's still very artsy, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. The only thing that I kind of had an issue with was the entire film. There's very little dialogue, and there's everything is told through narration. So like almost the entire movie is narrated by the main character.
Yeah.
And the writing is great. So like that's not a problem, but I couldn't help but thinking that what would this be like if there was no narration and it was just images? And I think that maybe for me at least it would have been a little bit more effective if I kind of had to figure everything out on my own as to what was going on. But either way, it was shot on 16 millimeter. It looks like it was something made straight out of the 60s or 70s. So I instantly liked that. But hopefully it will be coming out soon, and I recommend it. Then I saw The Ecstasies of Women, which is that was my Grindhouse Weekly pick for the week. It was directed by Herschel Gordon Lewis, although he didn't initially attach his name to it. And it was pretty shitty. I mean, it was like really... It was one of these campy sexploitation movies. It was shot in 2 days, apparently. So it's pretty bad as far as... There's tons of continuity errors. People in the film flub lines and they just leave it in. Like they outright fuck up and they just leave it in. Some of the characters forget the other characters' names in the movie. It's really, really poorly made. And basically it's just about a guy who is at he's at a bachelor party. He's about to get married and he's at a strip club and he's like reminiscing about his previous sexual partners. And so it'll be him having a pointless conversation with his buddies at the strip club, and that'll be a flashback to him meeting some girl and then having sex with her, and then it'll be like back in the strip club. And it's just so ridiculous when you watch it. Absolutely ridiculous.
It sounds like fun.
This is on Netflix, believe it or not.
I did notice that because I saw your Grindhouse Weekly article, and then as soon as I got on Netflix, it popped up, and I'm like, hey, that's the thing Adam just watched.
Yeah, it's on Netflix. One of the funniest things about it, I thought, was just how it ended. So after he's done, there's like 3 flashbacks, and one of them was particularly funny because they just show him drive. He's just driving. He's just on a drive. Pulls up to a stop sign, and a girl just randomly runs up and jumps into his car and propositions him for sex.
Dude, that happens all the time.
The best part of the movie, though, was the end, in which him and his buddies take the strippers back to his house. They have a giant orgy, and then when they're done, the stripper's like, oh, I wish I would have met you 10 years ago. And he's like, why? And she's like, oh, I might have had a shot. And he's like, all right, let's get out of here. And she's like, what? He's like, what about your wedding? And he's like, don't worry about the wedding.
Fuck that, dude.
And they just get dressed and leave.
I'm gonna give you your shot.
A
shot at what?
It was just ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
It sounds amazing.
It was pretty funny. I mean, it's really short, too. It's like 74 minutes or something, so...
It sounds amazing.
Yeah. Then I saw The Conspiracy, which is a mockumentary. This is on demand right now, and I think that it's out on DVD as well. It was kind of average throughout the first 2 acts, and then the final act got crazy, and that's really what makes me want to recommend it. The end is so tense, and I thought it was great how they ended it. It's basically about 2 guys that are making a documentary about conspiracy theorists, and their main subject suddenly disappears. And like his house is ransacked, completely emptied out. They can't find him anywhere. So then they decide to focus the film on finding this guy, and they start to uncover a lot of things involving secret societies and stuff. And they use a lot of like stock footage and talking head interviews to make it feel very real. But it's the end that really makes it worth it. Then I saw Ghoulies.
Ghoulies.
Yeah, this is from 1985. This was a boredom watch while I was working one night.
They'll get you in the end.
It's sort of like Gremlins in a way, but it's like a shitty version of Gremlins. Because the Ghoulies serve no purpose to the film. So basically it's about a guy who like inherits this old house and he like fixes it up and he starts doing these rituals, I guess. Somehow like resurrects these like little creatures. It's really dumb. They made like 4 of them or something too. So
Wow. Really?
yeah.
Did you follow it up with Rockula?
No, I didn't.
Well, you should. You should check that out.
Probably should.
Just looking at it right here. Tony Cox is in it.
Yeah.
It's from 1990.
Well, one thing to note is that Mariska Hargitay was in Ghoulies.
No.
Yeah, and she was like...
Are you serious?
Yeah, she was like super young.
That's amazing.
Then I saw Lovelace, which I have a review for that up on the site. I also have a review, a more detailed review of A Measure of the Sin, so check that out too. But I did not like Lovelace in the slightest bit. I gave it a 5 out of 10, but I'm actually going to drop that score because
Is it one of those that the more it stews in your mind?
Yeah, it was just pointless. It was nothing of a film. And what they do and the way that they structure it was infuriating. They play like half the movie and then they jump back to stuff that we already saw and like expand on it to reveal that she was being abused this whole time. Like we didn't already know that. Like it was such a slap in the face, and I felt that it was actually like kind of disrespectful, and the way that it was structured was so ridiculous. Like the beginning of the movie, it was her in a bathtub, like looking all haggard, smoking a cigarette, and then there's this voiceover with her being interviewed by Chloe Sevigny, and they cut to it like once, and I was thinking to myself, oh, okay, so this is like the through line. You know, this is how we're going to see the story. She's telling her story to a reporter.
Yeah.
Right? But that's not it. That's not what happened. It was just like Chloe Sevigny was in this one little scene, and then they just dropped that shit.
Just dropped it.
Yeah, I mean, James Franco plays Hugh Hefner. He's in it for all of 2 minutes. I don't even know why he was in it. I guess he just probably wanted to play Hugh Hefner.
Probably.
But yeah, this is on demand right now, playing in select cities. Cannot recommend it.
Well, it is from the guys that did Hal. You remember that? You remember that pile? You don't remember Hal? The
Hal?
Ginsburg?
Oh, the Ginsburg one, yeah.
Yes, with Franco? Yeah, that was awful.
Yeah, I remember that. I didn't even finish watching that, actually.
How could you?
I don't know.
How could you?
I didn't
How
finish
could
it.
you?
I remember I was in Pennsylvania when I started watching it, and I was like, nope.
I'm done.
And then finally I saw Clear History, which is the HBO film with Larry David. Ton of people in it too. And it's got one of my favorite things was the fact that like his 3 buddies were Danny McBride, Michael Keaton, and Bill Hader.
That's perfect.
Yeah. I was
That's
like,
perfect.
yeah. I was like, this is great. But basically, if you like Curb Your Enthusiasm, you'll like this. I mean, it's directed by Greg Mottola, and it has John Hamm's in it. He sort of plays the rival or the bad guy, the guy that Larry David's going after in the film. Liv Shriver's in it. He plays a Chechen. He plays like a Chechen sort of arms dealer.
Yes.
It's really funny. I recommend it if you like if you like the style of comedy of Curb Your Enthusiasm, go see it. I mean, it's not mind blowing. It's basically like a 2-hour episode.
I want to see this.
Oh, you should. You'll definitely like it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Well, I finally got around to watching Post Tenebris Lux, which is, if I remember correctly, this was one of my most anticipated films of the year, back when we did that whole thing.
Yeah,
and it did not disappoint. As soon as it popped up on the screen, it was amazing,
Yeah,
and it pretty much kept that the whole way through. The cinematography is just absolutely amazing, and I love the experimental use of the beveled lens.
I think I
I,
said something about that in my review.
I
I like
enjoyed
that.
that.
Yeah, I like that a lot too.
I mean, I do remember when we first talked about this film that I was a little bit apprehensive because I was afraid of like how much he would use it because I had this dreadful feeling that he was going to use it like the entire time and it was going to become very distracting.
Hmm.
But he only uses it in certain parts of the film, which was quite nice. I enjoyed it. And a lot of stuff to, glean from the film, digging into it deeper, sticking with me for a couple days now.
I want to see you dig deeper into the bathhouse orgy scene.
The bathhouse orgy thing was, if I remember correctly, I think that was the dream of his wife, because I can't quite recall exactly where it was placed in the film, but I think it was a dream of hers where she's trying to work her way through his porn addiction. Because you
Hmm.
have to imagine, he said that he can only have sex with his wife after watching porn. So I would imagine that when they do have sexual intercourse, that it's very porn-like,
Hmm.
where he's just plowing into her. And so when she's having sex at the bathhouse orgy type deal, she sort of overcomes that. Um, she sticks up for herself and tells the guy that he has to be more gentle, that he has to be, take his time, and then she ends up enjoying it. So I think that's what that was.
I saw that on the big screen.
Did you say? I wish I saw it on the big screen.
That was once the there were a lot of walkouts of that screening. Let me just say, a lot of walkouts.
A lot of walkouts.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I mean, it's
Yeah, I can see it. I can
it's
see it.
it looks great on the big screen, but it makes it harder to watch it because it's on the big screen. Just because you're just like, where's this going? What's happening? It felt like it was taking a long time to get where it was going.
It did take quite a while.
With movies like this, I think that sometimes maybe it's better to view them at home because you can, pause it, go get a drink, just remove yourself from it for a couple seconds.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. I wish all films just came out on VOD, so I don't have to leave my house.
Well, but
Fantastic.
at the same time, there's really nothing like seeing a movie in a theater, though.
No, that's
Like,
true.
I,
That's the problem.
I mean, just imagine that opening scene of Post Tenebris Lux with the girl walking around. Like, imagine that on a big screen. Like, it looked
I
amazing.
want to see that on IMAX.
Yeah, it looked amazing.
It's just unbelievable. And it pisses me off that I learned that that's Carlos Regadas's actual house. Like they just filmed at his house.
Oh,
That's where he lives.
it's a
That's
nice
where the
house.
fucker lives. I'm jealous. Imagine walking out and seeing that every day.
Nice house.
Shit. So yeah, definitely one of my favorites of the year. It's like top five of the year. I'll probably place it at like number three.
Wow.
It might move up. I don't know. That's just initial response. And then I watched Raging Bull again. This was a rewatch. I've talked about this before. My wife's going through films that she hasn't seen that she's sort of ashamed of. So Raging Bull is one of them. And I thought, I'll just write my R children review. I'll just work on that while she's watching Raging Bull. I got like two sentences in and I had to watch Raging Bull again. Like you can't do it. Like as soon as that opening comes on, which is like one of the greatest openings to a film, just De Niro in slow motion dancing around a gym, shadow boxing. Oh my God. This movie is just amazing, perfect in almost every way, shape, and form. And it's just sad to see what happened to Scorsese
Well,
because his films just,
I don't know. I think
but
that there could be a lot of arguments there over that.
it could be. It
I
could
mean, I
be.
don't think that he has varying degree. Like he goes for different things. I mean, he's always trying something different in his movies. I mean, certainly he hasn't achieved the same level as Raging Bull, but that
No.
doesn't mean that
No,
you
and
know he.
that's the difficult thing for him is he exploded onto the scene with like such perfectly made films, perfectly constructed and composed that man, that's tough to live up to. You can't. That's difficult to maintain throughout your career.
I still think he's one of the best directors.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I think he's
I
one of
mean,
the best directors working. I mean,
he's also one of the best people for cinema ever.
oh,
Just the
absolutely.
the institution of cinema.
Have you seen the Wolf of Wall Street trailer?
Um,
If you haven't, you got to watch that.
I think I have.
If you see, as soon as you see that trailer, it was I
There's
think it was the Kanye West song playing.
oh shit.
You got to see that shit. It looks so good. I cannot wait.
Oh yeah. So yeah, Raging Bull sucked, man. So if my Our Children review sucks, blame Raging Bull and Scorsese. There, that was their fault. Um, then I watched I signed up for Mubi. You know the little website there called Mubi.
Yeah, yeah,
I
no,
signed
movie.
I signed up for that thing, and I checked out a long lost, never really been released Agnes Varda film called Lion's Love, which stars menage a trois of Andy Warhol superstar actress Viva and James Ratto and Jerome Ragney, who are the creators of the musical Hair.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just them like hanging out, just doing their thing. And this movie is very bizarre because it's cinema verite style. It looks like you're just watching them live their lives, but you can't tell what is like performance art and what's actually them just existing and being themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And they just to have to live with the three of these guys, these three is just exhausting. And one of the main things is that they decide to rent children because they're thinking about having kids. So they decide let's give it a test run, rent some kids, varying ages, and it goes terribly wrong. And they end up like they're giving Dr. Pepper to like an infant.
Hmm.
They won't go to sleep, so they give them sleeping pills and tell them it's candy. It's ridiculous. And then, they sort of comment on Hollywood and just how ridiculous Hollywood is. And then there's a long digression into like the Robert Kennedy assassination, which they just watch on TV and sort of make fun of. And I mean, really, the only reason you would ever watch this is if you're a huge Viva fan or if you're a Varda fan.
Hmm.
Outside of that, you're never going to watch this. It was okay. It was a meh. And then I followed it up with another meh, which is To the Wonder.
Yeah.
Finally got to see the epic sprawling Terrence Malick film about love or something. Whatever the fuck
It's
it's.
supposed to be about love, but I don't find that
No,
it works on that level.
no, it doesn't. It's just it's it felt like an extended commercial for like depression medicine, honestly. Just like a long form version of that. I don't I My main question for Malik is when you do these films, why do you get big name actors to be in them and then do nothing? I don't understand.
Yeah, like
There's no point.
yeah.
You're just wasting money here. I couldn't get into it. I mean, it looks beautiful, of course. It's Malik. But even in the beginning, like the early stages of the film, the camera work was just driving me up the wall. I couldn't stand it. Just swooping left, swooping right, spinning around, tilting up in the sky. All this shit just constantly, over and over again, shot after shot after shot, cut after cut. It was just ridiculous. I couldn't take it. And I wanted to turn it off. And then it slows down and goes into that more standard meditative phase, with the long shots and
Mm-hmm.
and the camera drifting around. So thankfully that happened because if it was just that over and over again, I wouldn't have been able to take it. I would have stopped it dead in its tracks. But there is some great dialogue in this film that's delivered via whispery, whatever the
God.
fuck you want to call that, the inner dialogue shit, which is his. I appreciate Malik and I'm glad that he makes films, but his poetry is just awful. It's so terrible. I can't. It's to me, it's just laughable. And I give you an instance where Rachel McAdams goes, "I'd rather have a moonbeam than like her life that she used to have or something like that. I laughed out loud at that. That was just hilarious to me. And the ridiculous questions that he poses, like, where are we when we are here? And all that shit. That's just so goddamn easy to do. To just ask these broad, big time questions. And then, sort of, I just imagine him patting himself on the back and be like, damn, good job, Malik. That was really insightful.
Attaboy, Terrence.
Yeah. Just beside himself with profound thoughts.
I am awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, I know a lot of people give him that pretentious stamp. They say that he's pretentious, and I can see it. I can see why people think that.
With this movie, definitely, and to a well, no, I'd say equally with Tree of Life too. Like,
But like I said, I mean, all art that's fit for public consumption is pretentious. If you think about it, if you really break it down, it's essentially a person going, I have an idea and I must share it with the world. They think it's that important. So it's all pretentious. But for him to go the extra step and be like, I need to make a film about my thoughts on the meaning of life, and then followed up with a film about the majesty of love.
and that's the thing. Like, I didn't find the love in this
I
movie.
yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure that's what he was going for.
No,
It seemed
it's
like he was,
definitely what he was going for.
But for me, I can't take the dialogue. It sucks me out of the film. It's in the same vein of like Only God Forgives. I just wish that there was no dialogue. Just have your characters just shut their mouths and just give me the images because it just completely sucks me out. I can't take it. You
Yeah.
should just be doing like Kawatsukani type films.
Well, why can't he make a movie that looks this good and has decent a decent story or a decent
Because
amount
well,
of
number
dialogue?
number one, he can't write a story. I mean, that's been proven through all of his films. He only knows how to do his poetry thing, which to me just put out a poetry book and a film with none of the poetry in it, and just put them out together. Like read these poems while you're watching this film. I would be okay with that. But them delivering their dialogue with the whispery stuff, oh my God. And I have this image in my head too that as they were working on it, Ben Affleck probably had a ton of more stuff to say, like in the original cut, and then Malik heard like 2 seconds of it, and it was like, shit, we got to cut all that because he was absolutely terrible. As soon as you hear his whispery poetry stuff, oh my God, I just busted up laughing.
What'd you think about when he was speaking French?
It's it's oh my God, I just
You have to see Badlands.
I know I do. I know I do.
That
I'm gonna end up watching all of Malik's films.
I mean-
I do. There is a part of me that thoroughly enjoys them, but at the same time, I'm just irritated beyond belief. At the same time,
well, at least for me, Badlands is the exception to everything. Like, to me, that one was,
where it actually works.
yeah, it was. I mean, it was a 10 out of 10. I just loved it. I love that movie.
And the weird thing is I thought this movie actually came at like the perfect time too. I was celebrating my 5-year wedding anniversary. I'm like completely filled with like optimism and hope and love and all that stuff. And so I thought this was going to be like this. Essentially, this was perfect timing for To the Wonder, and it fell completely flat, which is not good. I mean, that really says something.
Yeah,
That I was in the perfect mode to see this film, and it did nothing.
yeah. Didn't do anything for me either.
Yeah, it was just tedious beyond belief. And then I watched another film, one movie called They All Lie, which is by Matthias Pinheiro. This is a film from 2009, and this is a perfect example of being able to make a thoroughly enjoyable film with almost no budget, no story. I mean, there's a lot going on here, but at the same time, nothing going on here. It's a very, very thin story. It's just essentially a story built upon lies and more lies, and you can't tell what the characters, what they're saying, what's real and what's not. Everything's like an elaborate hoax. Everything's like they're conning each other constantly, and it's absolutely amazing though. At the same time, Like I completely sucked into it, mostly because the camera work is just amazing. Use a lot of soft focus, which was nice, but also the camera movements themselves were just they weren't so intent on showing you like what's in the foreground. It seems like the camera was just like drifting through this story, like it was its own character,
Right.
and just popping in on things here and there. And they do a lot of just like floating tracking shot type deals, and the characters are just shifting through the house. Just the way that they would hit their marks and be perfectly timed at their places when the camera was coming through, it was quite an achievement. So I thoroughly enjoyed that, and I'm looking forward to it. He has a new movie called Viola, I think Viola, coming out this year, which I want to see. I found out about him because there's a pretty big write up of him and his films in the newest film comic.
I saw that, yeah.
So that got me interested. And then of course it popped up on Mubi, and I was like, perfect timing. Thank you, Mubi. And then I followed it up with the biggest piece of shit of this year, which is Kid Thing by David Zellner. This is my first 1 out of 10 review for Film Pulse. It was a special occasion. I was very excited. I mean, it didn't start out as a 1 out of 10. Well, it did. Like right off the bat, I was like 1 out of 10 because I didn't even want to finish this. But I guess I don't have the stature of a Rex Reed to just stop a film and review it. So I finished it, and I was like, right off the bat, I was like, this is 1 out of 10. I actually want to give it a 0, but I don't know if we can do that. Do we do that on Film
You
Pulse?
can do
we
a
get
point.
zeros?
You can do a 0.5.
0.5. I thought about a 0.5, but this film did teach me how to hypnotize a chicken. So it got 1 star for that because that was awesome, and I want a chicken now to do that too. But everything else is just a complete, absolute waste of time.
I
If it wasn't for word minimums and trying to have this like shed of professionalism, it would honestly have been 1 sentence review. And I think honestly, that's all it should get. Like this movie should not be talked about. We shouldn't let it be known that this exists. We should just act like it never happened.
well, I
Just
think
hide it away somewhere.
I didn't. This is one of these movies. I saw this a long time ago when it first came out on VOD, and I honestly remember almost nothing about it. I remember a bratty little girl being.
An asshole. She's an asshole.
Yeah, I was gonna.
She's just an asshole.
I was trying to come up with something,
Yeah,
a good word for it.
Yeah, kids can be assholes.
Yeah,
let's
she's
just put that out
kind of
there.
an asshole, and she does a bunch of stuff. She's really destructive, and then she meets. It's a frustrating movie, really.
It's irritating as all hell. I mean, there's no reason for this to exist. I mean, maybe he's posing the question like, what would happen to a child if there was absolutely no parental, instruction,
Yeah.
guidance, anything like that? How would they come out? Yeah, that's all well and good, but I mean, there's nothing here. Like, okay, they come out as an asshole. I mean, there's just nothing. There's no subtext. There's not. I mean, I see that he's trying to go for something with the woman being trapped in the well, which is, the little girl comes across this woman, but I mean, the line delivery from the woman in the well is just so fucking terrible.
Awful.
It's that, I mean, all the acting is laughable. And I've actually read a couple of reviews that were like commending the young girl in the film, which is Sydney Aguiar. And I'm sorry, but it was not good acting. No one demonstrated good acting in this film. It was terrible through and through. Everything about it. It's just awful.
Yeah, I think I was a little more lenient on everything than you were, but when this first came out and I saw it, I was like, I don't want to review that. Like it was so meaningless to me. I was just like, nah, no, not gonna
I
do
know.
that.
That's what we should have stuck to that. We should have just. I apologize to people for letting them know that exists.
Yeah. Well,
But I am here to tell you, do not see it.
don't see Kid Thing. There you go.
Don't see Kid Thing, and just be apprehensive to anything else David Zellner makes.
Seems like a rare misstep for Oscilloscope.
Yeah, what the hell were they thinking?
Well, the tone of the movie and the look of the movie definitely fits with their recent releases. Like,
I mean, it's seriously, it's a pile of shit. That's what it is. It's the equivalent of a pile of shit, but in film form. That's what
yeah,
it is.
I was a little more okay with it than you. I didn't
I was angered.
I didn't mind it that much.
Angered. As you can tell by my review, I was angry.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It was fine to me. All right, let's talk about Elysium. Todd Wilcox, thank you so much for joining us to talk about this. How are you doing?
Fine. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well.
Good.
I do have a synopsis here for Elysium. Set in the year 2154, where the very wealthy live on a man-made space station while the rest of the population resides on a ruined Earth, a man takes on a mission that could bring equality to the polarized worlds. This is written and directed by Neil Blomkamp, who did District 9, and it stars Matt Damon, Jodie Foster, Charlton Copley, even though I always have the hardest time saying his name for some reason. I don't know why. It also stars Alice Braga and Diego Luna and William Fichtner, who I'm a big fan of. So your review is up on the site now. So I think I'll start it off with some of my initial thoughts. Now, I did check out some other reviews for this, and it currently has like a 66 or somewhere around there on Rotten Tomatoes. And I gotta say, I really enjoyed this movie. I was pleasantly surprised. Now, I was a big fan of District 9, so I kind of had a feeling that I was gonna like this, but there have been a lot of sort of negative reviews coming out about it, so I was a little apprehensive going into it, but overall, I had a really fun time with it. I thought that the story was interesting. It was unique. I loved all the effects work. Pretty much everything as far as the visuals, except for a few different things that we can get into. But overall, I really enjoyed this film. What were your initial thoughts?
Oh, that I probably should have liked it more. I hoped I would have liked it more, but you can see from the review that I struggle with that review too, because I kept changing it from like 6.5 to 7.5,
Mm-hmm.
back and forth. And I was like, no, it's too good for a 6.5, but it's not really a 3.5 star kind of movie. It's not a 4 star. And I had a really hard time comparing it to District 9 in my head,
Mm-hmm.
which I thought was so perfect. That was such a brilliant film. It wasn't as good as I would have liked for it to have been, but it was still a good 97 minutes in the theater.
Yeah.
It was really good. I know that the last paragraph of that review, for anyone who reads it, probably comes off really critical, but it's just where I was summing up why I thought it could have been better and what annoyed me about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because when it's Blomkamp after District 9, I don't know. I expected sophomore genius, but anyway. But it was
Yeah.
still really good. People should see it. We recommend it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would definitely recommend it, but there were a few things that I had issues with, mainly in like the second and third acts. Mainly just the second act. I had some issues with just it. It started off so strong to me, like I was so into this world from the beginning. But then, like maybe at the midway point, it just kind of slowed down, and there weren't as many character moments, and there wasn't as much kind of action that was happening, and I felt like there was a bit of a lull in there, and that kind of I didn't like that aspect of it too much. The action itself I thought was incredible. However, that being said, I thought that they used the shaky cam way too much in this.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought that the camera got so shaky at certain points that it was like dizzying. I saw this at the IMAX,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, holy shit, what is happening here? But also I thought especially the first scene when they go after William Fichtner,
Yeah.
That scene was incredible. I thought that, and there was a really interesting camera shot that they did. I don't know if you remember this, but it was just a quick like trick that they used, and I can't really describe it, but it was when they were on the ground. It was the camera was sort of tracking Matt Damon. And it looked so cool how they did it. I don't know exactly what it was. It almost looked like when they strapped the camera to the front of the actor, and have it basically move with them, but it was like from behind.
Oh,
Do you remember that?
God, no. All that happened really fast.
Yeah.
How you saw that, I have no idea.
Yeah, it was just a really cool little camera trick that they used, and they use it. I think that they use it once more near the end, but I thought that it looked so cool. One of my favorite things about this film is just the technology and the look of like the suits that they wear and the weapons. I thought that the weapons were awesome, just like in District 9, and the robots. I thought the robots looked incredible.
What the thing about the weaponizing the body, armorizing it, weaponizing it, and the weapons themselves, as you mentioned them, seemed so realistic, as if that's maybe like 5 years down the road or something.
Yeah, well, the one that they used, it just looked like some sort of modified AK-47. That's exactly what it looked like.
And he did that in District 9, where things seemed really, it's future, but it's believable. It's not that far future.
Exactly. Yeah.
You didn't have to suspend too much disbelief to get kind of to the droids and all that. Whether or not the parole officer is a robot, and 50 years from now, I don't know, but
yeah, that I thought was getting into a little bit of like a Total Recall territory, but there were a couple other things like just the whole concept of a bed that basically cures you of everything instantly. I think that maybe that could be a little bit hard to swallow for some people, but it didn't bother me too much.
Or that you could have lawns in space.
Yeah. I don't know what that I don't know what that was all about. Maybe it was some kind of like astroturf or something.
We're gonna have lawns and trees that were bearing fruit in space without any kind of covering or anything. You could just land right on a lawn. I thought that was pretty interesting.
There must have been some sort of artificial atmosphere happening there, because they kept saying when there were like ships coming in, they kept saying it's entering our atmosphere. So there must have been some sort of something there that was creating an atmosphere. But what did you think of the look of Earth compared with like Elysium?
Good. It was a little Earth was a little District 9-ish, but in the sense that he didn't show us anything we hadn't seen before. Elysium was ridiculous. Like, what is that? That was completely new.
I loved the scene when they first went to Elysium, and there was like that kind of like swooping camera shot, and they showed like they went inside and you could see that it was like curved, like everything was circular, and how like everything kind of went up. I thought that was like really, really cool looking.
Yeah.
I like the look of that. But yeah, Earth did have a District 9 vibe to it, which I was totally okay with. I like science fiction movies that have that look, that kind of dystopian future look where everything's dirty and run down.
Built on top of each other because there's so many of us. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think that in this case it worked, and just the attention to detail in this film I thought was really good. Everything looked so real and defined. I liked that a lot about it.
Yeah, and that's where most of the reviews, because I didn't read any before I wrote mine, and then afterward I read, because I never try to be influenced, but then I read a lot of them, and they were all very. It seemed like they were all pretty praiseworthy of the look, the visuals of Earth, Elysium, down to the little things like, well, little, but I mean like the weapons and the armor and so forth. But
Yeah.
that's where that's where Blomkamp really nailed it. But on the character side,
Hmm.
I just was bored.
Yeah.
I got really bored really fast. I think I agree. It started well. I was very interested. I was interested in those two kids, Max and Frey. And then when he grew up, just the older he got, so to speak, the less interested I
Right.
became.
He
Jodie
didn't.
Foster, I almost stood up when not, we don't want to give anything away, but
We can do it. We can do a spoiler section after we talk about just kind of the general stuff if you want.
when she has a moment, I was very excited because she was a rather annoying secretary. But anyway,
I I thought that Matt Damon was kind of underutilized in this film. I felt like his character was pretty flat,
yeah,
and Jodie Foster, she was fine, but again, I just don't think they really went far enough with kind of developing the characters. I thought that the most interesting character was Charlton Copley's character. I
him
thought,
and Spider I liked.
yeah, and I liked Spider as well. I thought that he as a villain is he was a good villain. I mean, he was just so evil, and there was he does such terrible things that I liked him. I thought he was great in it. Really, I think that he was probably the most interesting character in the entire film.
Yeah,
Not only
I would have preferred to follow him around a little
yeah, I mean,
longer.
not
But
only just because of like who he is and how he acted, but just the type of gadgets he had. I mean, he had so many different like weapons and different things. It's like, what is he gonna pull out next? You know?
well, people who haven't seen it then will who like him and will like he just you think you see him at towards the beginning and you think we I didn't even know we were going to see him really again or how much we were going to see of him. Who knew that he would be so big in the
Oh
third
yeah, yeah.
act? You know that.
He's definitely one of the major roles in this.
Yep.
And one of the things I thought was funny is that it seemed like Matt Damon's character Max. It just seemed like he was constantly being hurt and blacking out, and then waking up in a different place and wondering what was going on. He blacks out 3 times in the movie, and both times they do, you know, the whole
Right.
dramatic waking up and like what happened, like that type of thing. that that felt kind of grating, and there were some other kind of like melodramatic moments to it where I was just like, all right, it's kind of lame. The locket thing I thought was pretty
Yeah.
lame, and honestly, I'm not sure that I was really buying the whole love interest angle that was
No,
going on.
I really feel like Frey, who we should say is the little girl that
Hmm.
Max, they're best friends and they've got the, F and M forever and all this kind of stuff. And then no, and then she's introduced as a like a plot twist. But we haven't seen her since she's a little girl. Well, I mean, we followed him and she comes on in the second act and you think, "Oh, well, what the hell is she doing here?"
Yeah,
I think we could have cut that whole thing out and added more character development of Carlisle and Delacourt and all these different who Foster plays and Fitchner and so forth,
yeah,
and followed them and developed them and just left her and the
and
love story part of it behind.
yeah, Diego Luna's character of Julio as well. I'm not going to say, you know, I'm not going to give away any plot details about what happens to any of these characters, but I feel like they could have. I mean, if they made him out to be like he was going to be, you know, he was like his best friend and he was going to be
Mhm.
doing this with him, and I was like, oh, sweet. Because I didn't even know Diego Luna was in this. And when I
And
saw him and they were like teaming up, I was like, "Oh, this is cool. This is taking a nice little turn." But you know, I just feel like that they needed to spend more time with him as well because they take the time to establish him, and we spend enough time with him at the beginning to get to know who he is,
mhm,
you know. But then they just kind of abandon it,
right.
and and it, well, it's getting too hard to talk about without spoiling it. So.
Yes.
Do you have anything else to add before we jump into spoilers? Because there's quite a number of spoiler type things that I want to talk about.
I know. This is why so much of the review is a play by play because I wanted, I wrote a spoiler version because it was easier to
Hmm.
write, but I avoided it in the end because I hate that kind of review. But
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and jump into some spoilers for Elysium. If you haven't seen the movie yet, just go ahead and fast forward through this. I'll have the time codes in the show notes so you don't hear anything. Going back to okay, so we're in a spoiler section now. Going back to the Diego Luna character, like the fact that they just kill him off so easily, that's one thing. Okay,
yeah,
to establish this character and to kill him off. But I thought that it was going to be like, oh, his friend is dead. Now he has more of a reason to do this mission, get revenge for his fallen comrade. But they never go back to it. Like he's just like, oh, whatever.
yep. He just is treated as disposable as a character, as the characters are treated disposable by the planet they live on. I was, I didn't mind that he died. I just was like, well,
Yeah,
his
that's
death was sort of meaningless to the film. It was
right.
just like, oh well.
And William Fichtner, who I thought was going to be one of the big bad guys, he
Dies at
gets
the same
offed
time.
pretty quickly too, which I was okay with that happening.
It was a pretty good death. I did like that overhead shot of him
Yeah.
strapped into his, still strapped into his whatever that shuttle was,
What did
with
you
his heart
now?
exploding.
What did you think about when Charlton Copley got his face blown off?
That was he wasn't we saw somebody else. Well, in that fight, they explode one of the
Mm, yeah.
Spider's guys. Spider, we should say, we didn't say before, at least is the guy running the illegals. I referred to him as a coyote, the way
Hmm.
we would somebody bringing somebody over the Mexican border. But he sends his guys out to help Max, and Julio's there, and like you said, they make a big deal about Julio's coming with me and all this, and then he's gone. But Charlton's character does explode one of Spider's guys, and so I knew you could explode people, but I didn't expect to see Charlton's face come off. But
Yeah, his
it was a pretty cool moment. But
a grenade literally blows his face off. And then of course they regenerate him. What'd you think about the fact that they regenerated his
just
his face?
by that point, by the time that happens, you're either in or you're not. I mean, by that point, I was just in that the thing worked. So
I was I can see how that would be problematic for people.
Mhm.
But for me, I thought that first of all, it was a really cool looking effect that
it
they
was.
did. And secondly, because I liked him so much as a villain, I was glad to have him back. And when he came back and that like twist kind of happened there where he then immediately kills Jodie Foster,
Mm.
I thought that was really really cool. And really that moment kind of redeemed the movie for me because by that point I was kind of feeling not bored, but I just wanted it to pick up a little bit.
This should be better.
Yeah, like I was just kind of it felt a little dull by that point, but I feel like it really picked up, and the end fight between Kruger and Max I thought was pretty cool. It's kind of a typical boss fight on a giant catwalk.
Yes, kind of Star Wars-ish.
Yeah.
We're on a catwalk and somebody's going over any minute with Spider there with a laptop hooked in, trying to get into the. I just like that. I just like the fact that he's back there with a computer in his lap trying to
Yeah, trying to get into the
trying to break
core
in,
or
yeah.
whatever.
And Max and Kruger having this fight to the death, not like 10 feet away. I don't know. That was a good final act though. A good boss
And
fight.
and
If
then
it had to happen.
and then of course Kruger explodes. There's so many. I feel like Neil Blomkamp just loves to make people explode in his movies because there were so many people that got exploded in
Yeah.
District 9 too, and there
Right.
was a ton of exploding people. I loved the scene with I think it's called a chemtrail gun that he grabbed when he was in the armory on Elysium, and he shot that one guy through the wall, and you could just see his body just get ripped to shreds.
Yeah, yeah. And did he explode somebody as well? Or did-
Well, he
I don't know. There were
sort
so
of
many. I can't.
he sort of exploded because he was shooting that chemtrail gun. It was going through the wall, and it was like
Oh.
ripping into that other guy
Yeah.
as he was running, and it like blew off his arms, and I
And
mean,
there
he
was some
basically
good,
exploded.
there's some good use of slow motion as well,
Oh yeah, I mean,
where you
there.
could really kind of take it, because a lot of it, I know, I say you mentioned it as well toward the top of this, and I said it in the review. If you weren't careful, some of that was kind of nauseating because there was a whole lot happening, and the shaky cam did not help. And that may have been what I was referring to when I said I got a little nauseated by it.
Oh,
Some of
definitely.
yeah, but when he slows it down, when he pulls the camera back and slows it down, there's like one scene where Charlotte's jumping from somewhere and it's in slow-mo. I mean, you could kind of take it in a little better. I
Yeah,
didn't want the whole thing to be slow-mo, but just a few scenes for effect, that was helpful. And it looked really cool too.
yeah. I liked all the slow motion work. I thought that, and it was really interesting because every time that they would do the slow motion, there'd be all kinds of like particles and things kind of floating through the air, and that kind of added to the style of it all. It almost felt like in Dread when they would do that. Did you see Dread?
I did see Dread.
It
Yeah.
was like when they would do the slow mo in Dread, and there'd just be like things kind of just floating, and it looked, it was like the kind of artful violence that we've been seeing more of recently.
hmm
And I liked that a lot. I mean, just all the action I thought was great, especially that initial scene when he first puts up the force field and he's like shooting in slow motion, and
Yeah.
I think a guy explodes. He explodes a guy there, or no, that was the robot when he first shoots that AK-47 gun, and it
Oh
hits
yeah, with the yeah.
and it hits the robot, and it just explodes, and that was done in slow motion. It looked great.
It looked great. I think that's in the trailer or some of the
Part of it, yeah, I think part of it's in the trailer.
makes it look really good, makes you want to go see it. All of those scenes, really, he was quite adept at. And the director was quite. What just kills me, see, is why not match that with 3 or 4 character-driven thing that we could follow better and develop and match it to the action? Because otherwise, you get this little lopsided.
Yeah.
That's what bothered me. The action was far better than the story.
What did you think, before we get out of the spoiler section, what did you think of the conclusion with Matt Damon ultimately sacrificing himself, and then everybody
Becomes a citizen
becomes a citizen?
of Elysium. It was a little precious, but
I thought,
it was a little precious.
first of all, I
must-
saw it coming a mile away. As soon as he had that conversation with the little girl where she was telling him the story about the hippo and which I
Meerkat.
thought was a little bit saccharine for my taste, but I knew that was going to happen. I knew that was going to be the end. He was going to sacrifice himself, upload his brain data to the core, and
Right.
reboot the system. But it made me think, though, like, what happens now? Because nobody wants to live on Earth. You kidding me?
Right.
Does that mean like everybody on Earth is going to try to pack themselves into Elysium? Like, what's going to happen?
That's huge unanswered. And the fact that, see, this is why we need a spoiler review, because a spoiler laden review. Because I wanted to say, well, no, wait a minute. They send Elysium automatically when I loved how easy it was too to make them citizens. It just
It was just a switch.
spider this
They
back
knew,
tabbed and
and they knew everybody too. Like they
Yeah.
had everybody's name somehow.
And Elysium sends those automated med shuttles down to Earth. And it obviously well, I can't say obvious. This is a question because these people start running towards these med shuttles. So these are like ambulances that have arrived. And they're run by droids and they all have medical bays in them. So then I'm thinking, well, now are they just going to go in and get healed and then come out?
Yeah,
Or
I think that that's what it's going to be. Yeah.
or was it going to take them to Elysium?
Well, that's what I thought at first. Like at first, I was like, before they showed the inside, I was like, oh, they're gonna like be
Transport.
yeah, like trucking all these people in to get them healed. But then when they opened it and they showed that there were like rows and rows of those healing chamber things, I was like, oh, they're probably just gonna heal everybody there on Earth. But
And then send them back into debris and
and they say multiple times that the air is completely polluted. So people are probably dying every day just from the air pollution alone.
but they're citizens now of Elysium, which means
Which means they can all just
go to
leave.
Elysium.
They can all just leave and pack
And
in
we all
and
we
ruin
saw was
Elysium.
We saw one tiny
Well,
bit
yeah,
of LA.
that's the other thing. We just saw a little portion of LA. I mean, this is apparently a worldwide thing. So,
And there were millions of people in that one place in LA.
yeah. I mean, what's going to happen? Plus, Spider is now the de facto president. And I mean, let's be honest. I mean, power corrupts, So he could end up becoming worse than the current president.
Yeah. He was he's that guy. He's the gray guy in this story. People who haven't seen the movie yet, right? Where Matt Damon's character is not all good, but he's basically the hero. He doesn't even rise to me to anti-hero. He's the hero. And
Well, so of sorts.
Well,
I would
but
argue that up
comparative.
until the very end, he's only looking out for himself. Like his ultimate goal is, I got to get to Elysium and heal myself. That's it.
yes, that's it at the beginning, and then they throw the whole Frey and her daughter.
Yeah, but
then-
that doesn't even happen until he gets on the ship with Charlton Copley and sees that they're there.
No, well, yeah, because he does. She patches him up, and he leaves her. But I just think he's not quite. He's
I don't.
painted as a little more good than
Right.
not, so.
I wouldn't call him an anti-hero. I think that he probably would be considered a hero. I mean, especially given what he does at the end. But,
Yeah. And then
but
and,
yes.
and Foster only shows any kind of gray when she's telling the president, "This is what we have to do to survive," and because she orders the shooting down of the illegal.
Yeah, which I thought was ridiculous from the beginning, because the one ship that does get through, as soon as the ship lands, they just detain everybody and
Right,
send them
and
back.
deport them. Yeah.
So it's like, why couldn't you just send robots to detain the other two when they land as well? Why
because-
kill them?
Because he's making a political point there, which he made his little political point in District 9 about apartheid.
Right.
Here he wants to make a lot of them. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's actually something I want to get more into after we get out of
Okay,
the spoilers, because I think that we can talk about that
Okay.
without giving anything away. But like you were saying with Jodie Foster's character, I mean, at the end, she doesn't want to be helped in any way. She's just like, oh, just let me die. Which which to me felt very uncharacteristic of what we had seen, when clearly she's willing to do anything to preserve her way of life. I mean, she killed 47 innocent women and children.
Right.
And
But
then
you're
all of a
right.
sudden she gets stabbed in the throat, and she's just like, all right, whatever, just let it happen.
But there were a lot of those moments. Hers was a big one where her character just seemed to suddenly take a right turn somewhere. I mean, in that moment, but it seems like not a lot of them, but a few of them do. I would argue even Matt Damon's character kind of takes.
Oh, yeah, I would
Right,
say
a
definitely
turn.
does.
So, see, and those are your two big main characters, and therefore I lost complete. I didn't like either one of them. I preferred all the grayer characters that seemed to be a little more truthful to who they were all the way through.
Even with Spider, though, up until the very end, again, he was just trying to get that data for the money. He just wanted money.
Right.
He wasn't trying to do anything noble or for the good of the people. And then at the very end, even when he was telling Matt Damon what the potential benefits of this information, what they could do with it, you were still never sure if he was actually going to use it for good or if he was just going to use it to, try to buy his way into Elysium or something else, kind of shady.
Mm-hmm.
But, of course, at the end, he does redeem himself and proves that he is a good person, unless he just wanted to become the leader.
Right. It's all left open.
Yeah. So.
Yeah.
All right. Any final spoilers before we get out of this this section?
Yeah, the people that I don't know. I'm trying to think. Is there anything else?
No,
So,
I think that I
they
pretty
all
much,
die.
Well, yeah, pretty
Not they
much
all.
everybody dies.
Pretty much everybody does.
But well, actually, the more we talk about it, the less I like this movie, which is kind of funny because I just saw it. Like, I just got home from a screening, and I was like, yeah, that was great. I was really into that. But now, talking about it, I'm just like, oh man, I'm starting to find all the things that just didn't work. But let's go ahead and get out of the spoiler section. So we're back. I want to talk about the message and kind of the symbolism behind this movie because it's pretty overt, like District 9, but I think, like you said, it's kind of a multifaceted take on several different things. I mean, there's class division, of course, and then it seems like he's also kind of trying to tackle immigration as well.
Yeah. Well, kinda. I mean, they use the word illegal
Mm-hmm.
and immigrant and
And plus, everybody. It seems like in the future there are no white people in Los Angeles. It's all Hispanic speaking people, Spanish speaking people.
yes, well, that was the most realistic part of the movie because that will be true. So
By 2154, yeah, it's possible.
it's very possible that will be true, and that we will be the outlaw. We will be minorities. We know that's true. So he does immigration. He does class. He does healthcare.
Yeah.
You can't pay for health care unless you're one of the rich. So he tackles a couple of different things. Too many from my point of view.
It would
Too
be,
many, too overtly.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about it is, and first of all, like when they show the residents of Elysium, it's all affluent looking white people with like cardigans, and all the kids are have perfectly groomed hair, wearing like nice tucked in polo shirts, and it's like it was a little bit too much. I mean, I feel like he just really drove it home with this the whole 1% thing.
Yeah, that was the other thing. It was very Occupy Wall Street, 99ers and the 1%ers. Although the president was ethnic,
Yeah.
but he was. I don't know what he. I mean, I've seen that actor before, and I know he's maybe some kind of Indian or Asian. So he throws that in, but obviously you could tell that he's one of those that left, went to England, educated at Oxford, all that kind of thing.
Right.
So even he's not ethnic like the guy running the 7-Eleven in The Simpsons. He's not that kind of ethnic.
Yeah, he was played by Farhan Tahir, and he played President Patel. So I'm thinking that he was supposed to be Indian,
Hmm.
but yeah, that
But everybody else is white. I mean, like you said,
yeah,
everyone else is white.
I think at the beginning when they showed that one like model looking girl getting into the chamber, I think she might have been Asian, but
Oh, I don't remember her being Asian, but
maybe not. Maybe she was just white.
I thought she was blonde. She looked like Taylor Swift.
Maybe that was in one of the trailers I saw.
Maybe so.
I
I don't
think
know.
maybe I think it might have been a trailer or something. But anyway,
It's just really too. It's just too much, and the fact that he has to keep. It's like you couldn't go 10 minutes without bumping into that idea.
hmm
And I also mentioned in the review, he's also making because those are political, social, economic. But he also makes a really kind of political. I think anyway. Maybe I just read into it of a kind of war on terror post 9/11 attitude through Foster's character.
I mean, yeah, that definitely could be. I mean, this tackles a lot of things. I mean, there's an entire scene where they deploy drones to,
Hmm.
search for him, and they're constantly cutting to camera shots of like satellite cams and things that are scanning people and looking for people. So,
And
I
your
mean,
citizenship is under your skin,
yeah, and I mean
like a
that
chip.
all these things kind of just harken back to pretty much every sci-fi film where it's always a reflection of what's happening today. It's always kind of a something that's blown out of proportion where if things remain the way they are, they're just going to kind of balloon and get out of control, and this is what we're going to have. But I will agree that I think that some of the stuff was a little heavy-handed, a little bit too much at times. But
But he did it in District. See, and this is what kills me and why I keep comparing it to District 9. In District 9, where he's got all the action, but he also has character development. And then he has apartheid, but he does it so it's also what word am I looking for? It's also kind of subtle is not the right word, but
well, yeah, I mean
it's
it was sort of
subtle, but it was
subtle.
like integrated into the story so perfectly and seamlessly, and so kind of quietly that it was just understood that that was a metaphor, and that
Well, yeah.
it made you care more about what was happening to the aliens than
What
maybe you would have ordinarily.
Well, I
But
think that's the big thing is that it was a metaphor. It was not like this is not a metaphor. This is
no,
the way it actually is. I mean,
oh,
Hispanic people, forced out of this place that can help them, and all the other stuff that we mentioned too. Like, there's no reading between the lines here. It's all right there on the screen, and I didn't necessarily have a big problem with it because I think that all the things that he addresses are real issues, and to me, it didn't really take too much away from the story. I still enjoyed all the action and the sometimes ridiculous, over the top violence of it. Uh, so that again, I can see how some people might have a problem with it, but it didn't bother me too much. Although, like you said, it would have been nice if he did it a little bit more subtly.
mhm.
It wasn't as bad as something like Killing Them Softly, where it's, you know, on the radio, every scene on the TV.
Not,
Like, that was bad.
yeah, that was bad. That was a bad movie.
This does it much better than that.
It does, but see, when you compare it I'm sorry, just to repeat it, but you compare it to what he did in District 9, where it's sort of a singular issue that unites the whole story. And this seemed to be multiple issues
Right.
that he didn't, it was like a roulette wheel. You just never knew which particular issue was going to drive the next 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That's how it seemed to me. I would have preferred one, two issues, and then we could have kind of just focused on the whole rich poor or something. And
Right.
all those other things are just happens, they just are trickle down from the fact that. And then you don't have to throw everything, the kitchen sink in there.
Yeah, and I think that has to do with this being much larger in scope than District 9. I mean, obviously it had a much higher budget than District 9, and with District 9 it was it was such a focused story. It was about this one guy doing this one thing in this camp.
Right.
And the film mainly just stayed on Charlton Copley's character in District 9, and The other thing that I wanted to mention that District 9 had a lot of humor in it too.
Mm-hmm.
District 9 it did have some very heavy moments. It was, sprinkled in with a lot of violence and kind of tough things, but at the same time, there were many moments to it where it was just funny. There were funny things that happened, and there was really nothing funny about this movie at all. I mean, there was nothing to bring to lighten it up a bit.
District 9 also really paid for the sincere moments.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Like the moments between Charlton and his wife after he's infected, the moment between the father alien and the little kid alien.
Yeah.
That were kind of the sincere emotional moments were really paid for with what had come before and after. And here, when you do get the sincere moments, they either feel really kind of forced, like Max and Frey's non-romantic romance, or the last 2 minutes of the film where
right,
if that's what happens.
Yeah, I'll probably just bleep that. But
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree completely. Like the emotion just wasn't there. Like the only emotion I felt was like during the action scenes where I was just like, I instantly turned into a dude and was like, fuck yeah, like that type of stuff. But like as far as having some sort of like resonance with the characters, that was not there at all.
It felt very cold.
Yeah. So there you have it. Elysium, you gave it a 7 out of 10 on the site. After discussing it, I was going into this discussion with a 7 out of 10, but I think I'm probably going to have to drop it down to like a 6.5 or maybe a 6.
Yeah, same. But I vacillated a lot, but
yeah, I think it's still worth seeing. Did you see it in the IMAX?
I did.
Okay, yeah, I thought it looked pretty good in the IMAX. I was glad that they didn't go with the post-conversion 3D bullshit
I
with
made
it.
mention of that as well. I think there are certain scenes that would have been just really hard to focus your pupils if it were in 3D. I don't think I could do it.
Oh, that shaky cam. Holy shit. That was so intense. Did you see Hunger Games?
Yes.
There was some pretty intense shaky cam in that, I remember. And
I've blocked most of that out of my head.
And the only reason I mentioned that is because I don't recall any movies after that had some really bad shaky cam, but this one was really intense. Like, I don't understand why they went that. It wasn't the whole way through, but
no,
there were a few moments where I was just like, "Holy shit!" Just
but
stop.
Wasn't it? Am I remembering as it went on? It didn't. The camera got stiller, didn't it? As it went along.
A lot of the stuff that happened on Earth, like a lot of the fight scenes and stuff and scenes of action on Earth, it was really shaky. And then once they got up into Elysium and stuff, it calmed down.
And perhaps that was because, I don't know, he's making some other point, but...
I don't know. Probably.
Maybe Earth is just really, really shaky. Or maybe they were having constant earthquakes.
It was constant. It was just a constant earthquake.
Just one big...
Oh, they were in LA, so...
Yep.
I don't know. There you have it. I'm going to still say go check it out. It's still worth seeing on the big screen.
It's certainly one of the most anticipated of the year. One of the more, or how do I say this? The more anticipated that actually got pretty close to the expectation compared to some other films.
I think this is doing very well in theaters as well. So
it's number 1 right now.
Yeah, so it's doing very well. We're recording this on Saturday, so we don't have like the weekend reports in yet, but I'm sure that it's going to clean up at the box office.
I read an estimate, though. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. I read an estimate of maybe 32 million.
Domestically for the weekend?
For the weekend, yeah. Which actually still puts it behind District 9's opening, but and for $100 million movie, they really need to make 30 million.
Yeah, I think that this will make its money back, but maybe maybe he needs to go back to a smaller budget for his next film. I don't see him returning to a small budget though, because I remember that was the whole thing. Like District 9 was a sleeper hit. Nobody knew what that was. It had a small budget, and it just like exploded because it was just so good. And then now he's got $100 million to work with.
Just further proof that the more money you throw at something
Yeah,
does not mean the better it will be.
doesn't necessarily mean it'll be better. Now, did you see Pacific Rim?
I saw Pacific Rim. Yes.
Where do you sit between like comparing these two? Because they're kind of similar in that they're big blockbuster action sci-fi films.
I would actually rate this one higher than Pacific Rim.
I definitely had issues with Pacific Rim as well, but yeah. I don't know. I don't know where I'd sit.
Well, just from and I love Guillermo del Toro, but Pacific Rim was just too much. It was just too. It was too big. It was
yeah.
It was the beasts were too big and the robots were too big and there I didn't really care about anybody, even though it had lots of earnest moments.
Yeah.
But it was kind of crowd pleasing too.
Yeah, I liked Pacific Rim quite a bit, but I don't know where I'd stack these two. That'll be something I'll have to sit with both of them because I just saw Elysium today, so I need to process it for a little bit. But so Elysium playing in theaters now. Go check it out. All right, thanks a lot, Todd, for taking some time to talk with us.
Anytime.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to some predictions.
Oh, okay.
Last week, Ernie and I did these predictions. So we did Percy Jackson, Sea of Monsters. I said 25. He said 12. Actual 34 on Percy Jackson, Sea of Monsters.
Who reviewed that? Did anyone review that?
No, we did not cover it. Did not cover that one.
Come on.
We're the Millers. I said 36. Ernie said 24. Actual 41.
That's quite high. That's surprising.
Yep. Still have no desire to see it. Elysium, I said 63. Ernie said 61. Actual 66.
Bravo.
Yeah. And finally, Planes, I said 15. Ernie said 18. Actual 24.
Wow.
Way to go, wow. Disney. Seems like you probably should have just left that come straight out to video or whatever.
Wow.
Next week, we have a huge week. Huge week next week. We have Kick-Ass 2. What are you thinking on this one?
Ooh, thinking like a 74.
I hope that it's good. It concerns me that Matthew Vaughn didn't direct it, but
yeah.
Who did they get? They got was it Jeff Wadlow? Is that who's doing the sequel? Because I think he's done some decent stuff too.
He's done.
I'm gonna say 68.
What has Jeff Wadlow done?
I don't know.
Oh, he never backed down.
Ugh.
You remember that?
Yes.
That was amazing.
Yes, I remember that.
By amazing, I mean terrible.
Yeah.
So no, this is gonna be awful.
Then we have Jobs. I think this is gonna be pretty bad, so I'm gonna say 40.
I'm gonna say 38.
Okay. And then we have Paranoia. This is the one with Liam Hemsworth and Harrison Ford, which also looks pretty bad to me. So what are you thinking on Paranoia? What a generic name for a movie.
What a generic poster. What a just everything. Everything about this just screams manila folder.
Yep.
Oof. I'm gonna go like a 30.
30? I'll say 32. And then we have Lee Daniels, the butler.
That's unfortunate.
I'm gonna say 82 on that one.
82. I'm gonna go 80.
I have no desire to see it whatsoever, unfortunately. I just like it just doesn't interest me. In fact, I was thinking about it, like all the big award contenders are going to be coming out pretty soon, and none of them really stand out to me. 12 Years a Slave stands out.
Yeah.
But none of the other ones really appeal to me too much.
No, I'm not a huge fan of this time of the year.
Yeah, I mean,
we get bombarded with all this Oscar bait.
Yeah, I mean, at least it's not as bad as January, February, where there's like nothing.
Nothing comes
There's
out.
like literally nothing. Limited release, we have Abandoned Mine, which we'll have a review up for that on Thursday. Ain't Them Bodies Saints, which I'm very excited for.
Yes.
Austin Land, and Ain't Them Bodies Saints comes out on VOD, I think, not this weekend, but next weekend maybe?
Oh my god.
Or not this coming weekend, but next weekend.
Oh my god.
Austin Land, which looks pretty bad. Cutie and the Boxer.
It's about Jane Austen. It can't be bad.
It's sort of about Jane Austen.
Anything that's remotely...
It's about Jane Austen fans, which is even worse.
Oh my god. How... I mean, you can't make anything worse than Jane Austen, and then they did it.
Yep.
They made it about her fans.
Wow. Cutie and the Boxer, which is a documentary. It looks okay. Looks like it'd be a cute movie.
I'm interested in this.
Inshallah, I guess that's how you say it.
Sure.
That comes out, and you're going to be covering that one for us, right?
That's right.
And Drew, the man behind the poster, debuts in New York. That's playing in a couple select cities right now, but it comes out in New York this Friday. I really want to see that. I'm a big fan of Drew Struzan.
Drew Struzan?
Drew Struzan.
That's a difficult name to say.
Yeah. Big fan of his, so I'm very anxious to see this. Ernie, I think, saw it at Comic-Con.
Ernie has seen everything already.
Pretty much.
Just throw that out there.
Video on demand releases. I have 3 here that are going to be
may or may not happen.
Yeah, pre-theatrical or day and date, and that's Dear Governor Cuomo, which I believe is a documentary. The Perfect Stranger, which doesn't look very good, and then Abandoned Mine, which we just mentioned. Which
that's a solid 3.
Yeah, which I guess I can't really say anything about it yet, but yeah, that comes out Friday as well. And DVD and Blu-ray releases. This is for Tuesday, August 13th, 2013. We have A Band Called Death, which I got my Blu-ray in the mail yesterday for this.
Did you?
Yeah, I haven't checked it out yet, but The Big Wedding, which looks awful. The Company You Keep, which I'm actually interested in. I didn't get a chance to see that when it came out, but that's the one with Shia LaBeouf and Robert Redford.
Indeed.
Hatchet 3, which is bad. Skip that. What Maisie Knew, which looks pretty bad to me. Not my thing. So that's the one with Alexander Skarsgård and somebody else. I can't remember who the female lead is in that.
Yeah, I can't. I don't remember either.
And Heirs of the Human Body, which
Julianne Moore.
Julianne Moore. Yeah, that's what I thought. Heirs of the Human Body, which is a pretty decent like science fiction thriller. We reviewed that a while back, and we interviewed the director. So I'd say check that one out too. Also, a movie. What? A movie. This is a bonus. A movie called Three Geezers. What? I want you to look this cover.
You know I'm doing it.
I want you to look this cover up. You
didn't even have to say it. You didn't even have to say it.
Because it pretty much has the best cover I've ever seen ever.
The look on J.K. Simmons' face is fantastic. Just the look on everyone's face, really. And the fact that it just says a funny movie. It's a funny movie.
I don't even think that those are like stills from the actual movie. I think those are just like headshots.
Yeah, no, because it's like Tim Allen's headshot from back in like 91.
Yeah.
He does not look like that anymore.
Yep.
He looks like he's like 38 there. What the what the hell?
I was going through
What is this?
Yeah, when I was looking at all the stuff coming out, I saw that and I was like, "What is this? Three geezers."
This is amazing.
Yep.
Okay.
As soon as I saw that, I was like, "Oh yeah."
Sam Raimi's in it.
Yep.
Oh man, it's got everybody. This is amazing. Cocoon meets The Hangover. That's what it's fucking billed as. That's amazing.
Oh
This
God.
holy shit, this exists.
Three geezers.
You gotta, we gotta cover this. This needs to be covered.
I mean, I'm assuming it's straight to. I'm assuming that it's straight to DVD.
It's directed by J.K. Simmons' wife.
Ah,
That's what's going on here.
Breckenmeyer.
Breckenmeyer.
A funny movie.
I love that it's the greatest thing I've ever seen.
I just can't get over this. I've been staring at since I found this yesterday. I've been just staring. I'm gonna set this as my desktop wallpaper.
It needs to be plastered everywhere. Everywhere. Unbelievable.
Oh,
That is
right. Any
amazing.
are there any criterions?
There is actually one Criterion movie from 1966, John Frankenheimer's Seconds, which actually looks amazing,
It's
really.
got a great cover.
Oh my God, this is awesome. I can't wait to see this. Thank you, Criterion. Concerns of middle-aged banker dissatisfied with suburbia, likes to undergo a strange and elaborate procedure that will grant him a new life. That just sounds
That
awesome.
sounds awesome. I might have to
I'm
watch that this week.
Yeah, this is- I'm so excited for this.
All right. Well,
Excited.
I think that wraps it up. For all the latest film news and reviews, visit us at filmpulse.net. Send us an email at feedback@filmpulse.net. Follow us on Twitter at filmpulse.net. And be sure to rate us on iTunes. We appreciate that very much. For filmpulse.net, my name's Adam.
And I'm Kevin.
And we will see you on Thursday for Ryan Watches a Movie.
Simbalta. Send it to me, Tigun. Star.